The Saint of Port Charles's just claimed her first victim. Get ready, because General Hospital just went where no one thought they would. Willow Tate has murdered Kai Taylor. After months of Kai holding the secret of Willow's ringtone over her head, Willow finally snapped. To protect her custody of the kids and her new power in Congress, she silenced Kai forever. But was it a clean kill, or did she leave behind the one piece of evidence that will lead Carly and the PCPD straight to her door? Stay tuned, because the footage of Willow's descent into madness will leave you absolutely breathless. Hello everyone and welcome. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the support and give this video a thumbs up. The late afternoon lights seep through the Cain residence's heavy curtains, leaving lengthy shadows on the polished hardwood flooring. Willow walked with practiced accuracy, her heels softly clicking as she brought the small tray into Drew's bedroom, where he lay still. His eyes, the only part of him that still had life, followed her every move. She had gotten accustomed to his silent accusation. The way his stare pierced her even as his body stayed confined in the prison she had constructed for him. The syringe rested on the tray next to a new vial, its contents transparent and unassuming, yet potent enough to keep him in this condition of suspended horror. Willow had long convinced herself that this was necessary. Drew's ambition had imperiled everything she had worked for. And now, with Sidwell pulling strings from the shadows, her route to power required complete control. She halted at the entrance, looking back down the hallway. Today, the home felt unusually silent, as if every small sound was exaggerated. Kai had been stopping by more recently, claiming to be checking on Drew or delivering something from the university population that still hung around in Trina's realm. He was youthful, earnest, and exuded an effortless charisma that made others blindly believe him. Willow had disregarded him at first as simply another temporary distraction in Port Charles, but his visits had become too regular, and his questioning had become too direct. She pushed the notion away and entered the room. Drew's eyes widened slightly as she neared. She gave him a smile that didn't reach her eyes, mumbling something about how calm he appeared and how the rest was doing him good. Her fingers wrapped around the syringe and she leaned in to administer the medication. That's when she heard it, a tiny squeak from a floorboard just outside the door. Her heart stutters. She froze, needle poised, and listened. Nothing. Perhaps it was the house settling or the wind blowing through the windows. She continued, injecting the medication with the calm accuracy of someone who had done it many times before. Drew's eyes twitched in hopeless protest. Then stopped as the paralysis worsened. As she straightened and started to leave, the door slid open. Kai stood there, phone in hand, the camera lens still slightly glowing from whatever he had just captured. His face was pale and his eyes were big, filled with astonishment and despair. For a long time, neither spoke. The only sound was the monitor's faint beep as it tracked Drew's vitals. "Willow, what the hell is that?" Kai's voice trembled with the final syllable. He stepped inside, his gaze moving from the syringe in her fingers to Drew's unmoving form on the bed. "You've been drugging him all this time." Willow's thoughts raced. She carefully laid the platter down, giving herself a few seconds to settle herself. "Kai, you don't understand. This is complicated. Drew's condition. It's delicate. The doctors stop." Kai raised his palm. "The phone's still recording. I saw you. I saw what you just did. You've been keeping him like this on purpose." "Why?" "For the congressional seat. For whatever deal you made with Sidwell." The name made her feel like a smack. Kai knew more than she realized. He had pieced it together. Perhaps from overheard conversations, from observing her too carefully, or from the hidden camera he had mentioned in passing weeks before, claiming it was for security. She had shrugged it off at the time. Now it felt like a noose was tightening. "Kai, put the phone down," she murmured softly, moving closer. "We can talk about this. You don't want to ruin everything." He took a step back, his thumb lingering over the screen. "Ruin everything? You're the one ruining lives. Drew is trapped in there, and you're poisoning him to keep control. I have proof now. I'm calling the police. She was shaking with dread. If Kai stepped out the door with that footage, it was over. Sidwell would let her go, or worse, the children, Wy and Amelia, would be stolen from her forever. Her new life, the power she had fought so hard for, would disintegrate. She couldn't let that happen. Not now. Not when she was this close. Kai, please, she asked, her voice shaking with fake vulnerability. I never wanted this. It started as protection, but it spiraled. Help me fix it. We can get him real treatment for a heartbeat. Doubt flickered in his eyes. He was young and optimistic. He wanted to believe in redemption. But then he looked at Drew again, saw the wordless plea in her eyes, and his resolve stiffened. No, this ends today. He headed toward the corridor, his fingers already dialing. Willow moved without conscious thinking. She reached and grabbed his arm. The phone clattered on the floor. Kai twisted, attempting to push her away, but she was faster, driven by desperation. They struggled, a jumbled jumble of limbs and muffled groans. He was stronger, but she battled with the determination of someone who had nothing to lose. Her palm wrapped around the abandoned syringe, which was still half filled. Kai, don't make me do this, she exclaimed. He froze and stared at the needle. You won't. You're not a killer. But she was. She had shot Drew. She had engineered this nightmare. With one more act, she could keep everything hidden. She shoved the syringe into his neck with a sob-filled, furious howl. Kai's eyes widened with surprise. He staggered back and clawed at the injection site. The medicine took effect quickly, his legs weakened, and he sank to the floor, breathing in shallow rasps. Willow stood over him, her chest heaving. Her eyes welled up with tears both of relief and grief. She had crossed the boundary she had vowed she would never do. Kai's eyes met hers for the last time, filled with betrayal and fading light before they glazed over. The room was suddenly silent except for the monitor's constant beep. Willow knelt near Kai to check for a pulse. Nothing. She cleaned the needle clean with shaky hands and returned it to the tray. Her thinking changed to survival mode. She would stage it so that it appeared to be an accident, a stress-related cardiac disease, or an overdose gone bad. Nobody would seriously question that poor Charles was filled of tragedy. She pulled Kai's body to the hallway and placed him at the bottom of the steps as if he had fallen. She retrieved the phone, deleted the video, and smashed it under her heel. The evidence is gone. She returned to Drew's room and smoothed her hair before wiping her face. His eyes followed her wide and scared. He'd seen it everything. You see, she murmured to him. This is what happens when people threaten what I built. Stay quiet, Drew. The next one could be someone you care about. She exited the room, carefully closing the door behind her. She poured a glass for herself downstairs, shaking her hands. The weight of what she had done hung over her like a shroud. Kai was gone, and his secret was buried with him. But the home felt smaller now, and the shadows were longer. She had purchased time, but at what cost? As night fell, Willow sat in the living room, staring blankly. Sidwell's anticipation increased as the congressional appointment approached. She had neutralized the immediate threat, but others would follow Chase, perhaps Ornina, if she ever suspected the truth. Willow had always assumed she could outmaneuver everyone, that her intelligence and tenacity would get her through. Now with blood on her hands, she wondered if she'd gone too far. The phone rang. Na was most likely checking in. Willow let it to go to voicemail. She needed to ponder and plan. Kai's death would be discovered shortly. She would play the bereaved friend and the surprised neighbor. Tears would flow readily. They were already near the surface. Drew lay in quiet agony in the upstairs bedroom. His thoughts shouting what his body couldn't. He witnessed Willow's metamorphosis from nurse to manipulator to murderer. Another life has been extinguished as a result of her secrets. Outside, the wind picked up and rattled the windows. Port Charles's routine continued. Hospital rotations, court dates, whispered scandals. But within this mansion a new darkness had emerged. Willow had killed to protect her secret, and as a result, she had become unrecognizable even to herself. She got up and walked to the mirror in the foyer. Her reflection gazed back, composed, gorgeous, and untouchable. However, something new appeared in her eyes. Terror, not of being caught, but of what she would do if pushed again. For the time being, the secret remained safe. Kai was gone, but secrets in Port Charles had a way of reappearing, and Willow knew the clock was ticking. She had entered land from which she could not return. The woman who had once fought for love and family was now a murderer, determined to do whatever it took to maintain power. As she turned away from the mirror, a solitary tear fell. She wiped it off immediately. There is no room for weakness. Not anymore. The home fell into an unsettling silence, concealing its horrors behind locked doors. Willow Cain, congresswoman-in-waiting and secret murderer, stepped cautiously into the night. The body at the bottom of the steps awaited discovery, and with it any unraveling that might occur. But for tonight, the secret remained. Kais always thought that secrets were heavy things, not because they were harmful, but because they harmed those who carried them. They curled spines, hollowed eyes, and altered the sound of laughing. He noticed it in Willow long before he suspected the truth. Initially, it was little. Her smile appeared a second too late. Her hands trembled when she assumed no one was watching. Her gaze scanned every area, counting exits like a person prepared to leave an unlit fire. He knew she was lying because they had known each other for a long time. Willow had always been cautious with her words, but the pauses between them were telling. The prolonged silences. She avoided those gaze. She claimed tiredness on those nights, but what she was carrying was anxiety. He did not confront her at first. He loved her quietly without demanding confession and believed that patience was a form of protection. But patience Kai saw could turn into complicity when the truth was harsh enough to cut everyone it touched. He learned the secret by mistake. A talk was heard through a half-open door. A name that should not have been pronounced. A truth stitched together from parts he had no right to hear but couldn't stop listening to. Willow had been involved in an event that had broken lives. She didn't initiate it, but she did help bury it. The secret was not just hers. It was part of a sequence of choices, a succession of occasions when quitting seemed impossible and continuing felt easy. When he finally said her name that night, she trembled as if he had struck her. "Don't," she muttered before he asked the question. Her voice crushed him more than any confession could. It was not the voice of a villain. It was the voice of someone who had exhausted all of their options for hiding. "I know," Kai replied gently. "I know what you did." The room felt smaller with the walls pushing closer as if the truth was heavy. Willow stared at him, eyes wide, breath shallow, and color draining from her cheeks. For a moment, she appeared to be about to fall. He approached her without thinking, reaching out in the same way he had always done when the world turned nasty. "Don't touch me," she said, and the words were painful because they were new. She hadn't said them before. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said. "I am here because I care about you. But you cannot keep this buried. People deserve the truth." The word truth fell between them like a glass dropped from a height. Willow shook her head frantically, tears obscuring her eyes. "You don't understand," she replied. "If this comes out, everything will fall apart. Not only for me, for those who did not choose this. People who will be penalized for something they did not consent to." Kai envisioned becoming angry when he uncovered her secret. He had imagined shouting, betrayal that was harsh and loud. He felt grief instead. Grief for the lady he loved and the decisions that had turned her into someone terrified of the sun. "Then we find another way," he explained. "We safeguard the innocent without allowing the guilty to hide. You don't have to bear this alone." Her laugh was faint and brittle. "There's no other way. You do not know who is participating. You don't know what they'll do to keep this quiet." "Do you mean they'll hurt you?" Kai inquired. Willow's quiet was sufficient as an answer. Something in him stiffened. then, not against her, but against the shadow she dwelt in. "We go to the authorities," he stated. "We speak the truth together. I'm not going to let them touch you." She took a step back, panic growing. "You cannot promise that. You can't shield me from this." "I'll try," he replied. "That's what love is. Trying even when you're terrified." The word love fell incorrectly. Willow closed her eyes, and when she opened them, there was a coldness beneath her fear. Calculation. A decision is building like a storm. "You have to forget this," she stated. "You have to pretend you never heard anything." Kai felt the distance widen. "I cannot. Not when people were harmed. Not when the truth is the only thing that can prevent it from happening again." The room fell silent. The air appeared to thicken, and each breath required effort. Willow stared at him as if she was memorizing his features. Each familiar line now priceless. "I never wanted you to know," she explained. "You were the one part of my life that felt clean." "That's still possible," he commented. "We can make this right." Her eyes swelled, but her voice remained steady. "Nothing is right anymore. Only survival." He reached for her again, and this time, she did not back away. For a heartbeat, she leaned against him, forehead against his chest, as she used to do when the world was too loud. Kai closed his eyes, relieved that he had finally reached her. "I'm sorry," she muttered. The words were too gentle and final. When he opened his eyes, something in the room had changed. There was no sound or movement that he could identify, only the impression that the connection between them had shattered. Willow took a step back. Her face a mask of pain and determination. "You were never supposed to be part of this," she told me. "You were supposed to be safe." Realization came too late. "Willow, whatever you're thinking, I don't have a choice," she told him. "If you talk, everything will burn. People die. Families fall apart. I lose everything. And they'll make sure I lose it gradually." Kai's heart pounded with worry for her rather than for himself. "This isn't you," he said. "You are allowing them to transform you into someone you are not." Her smile trembled. "Maybe this is who I've been becoming all along." The moment stretched as thin as glass. Kai took a stride toward the door. Not to leave her, but to create space and demonstrate that he was not her enemy. "We can still walk out of this room together. He told me, I will not inform anyone tonight. We'll work it out in the morning." Willow's breath caught. The future he promised was delicate, and fragile things are the first to crumble under pressure. "I love you," she murmured, her voice cracking with emotion. "That's the cruelest part." She made a decision that she would live with for the rest of her life. It wasn't loud. It was not dramatic. It was a quiet and sad decision, the kind that resonates in silence. Kai saw the decision in her eyes before he felt the consequences, and his wrath faded in that final moment. There was only pain for both of them as fear had transformed love into something unrecognizable. The room appeared to be devoid of sound as the world shrank to the space between them. When it was over, Willow stood alone in the aftermath of her decision, the secret still hidden and the cost unfathomable. She sunk to the floor, the weight of her actions bearing down on her chest, making breathing feel like a punishment. She had guarded the secret. She had killed the only person who thought she could still be saved. In the days that followed, the world went on as if nothing had happened. The sun arose. Everyone laughed. The city was pulsing with life. Willow glided through it like a ghost, keeping her secret hidden and her heart hollowed out. Every nook reminded her of Kai's generosity, and every peaceful moment carried the echo of his faith in her. The secret was secure, but she wasn't. She carried the knowledge like a wound that would never heal.